Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. Our mission is to bridge the gap between mental health, wellness, and music, specifically rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We give you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. Our wellness kits were created out of a need to simplify your shopping experience and make it stress-free. You'll get the most effective nutrients in the least amount of bottles with the least trial and error. Immerse yourself in the Collaborative Resource Hub by going to our website where you'll have access to helpful resources that can nudge you in the right direction. Let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Find the Collaborative Resource Hub interviews on YouTube, all major podcast platforms, and get cool music and wellness perks by supporting us on Patreon. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. All right, so we have Blag the Ripper from the Dwarves enlightening us on lots of different things, from politics to wellness tips to, what it's like playing in a rock and roll band. So without further ado, enjoy. Blag the motherfucking Ripper. What's up, man? How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm feeling strong.
Good. Strong's important.
Yes, indeed. It's all about wellness. I saw that this was about wellness, so I'm wondering how I'm involved, but I guess we'll see as we go. We'll see how well I can do.
Yeah, it's really more of like, it's like a challenge. So we'll see how many points you get as we go.
Okay.
All right. So how would you describe the Dwarves, which is the band you are in, to someone who perhaps somehow hasn't had the privilege of hearing you guys before?
Oh, man. Well, it kind of reminds me of like when I was a kid and I got to see like Bo Diddley or Frank Zappa or these people who had been held this great place in my mind,
Yeah.
and I think the Dwarves are a part of American cultural history. So if you get to see us, then you're part of a select few and very fortunate. I mean, we're sort of an example. It's kind of like when they'll go back and study early life forms, and it's like, wow, we found this plankton and it's been here for 1 billion years. You know? That's sort of what the Dwarves is now. We're your 1 billion-year-old plankton.
So you're fossilizing.
That's right. We're fossilizing as you speak.
I was talking to a friend of mine last night and telling her about the interview I had coming up. And she was like, wait, have they been around a while? And she's mid-30s. She's like my age. And I said,
so
yeah.
She's been around for a while.
Pardon?
So she's been around for a while.
Yeah. So everybody's been around a while. And apparently when she was in college, she listened to the Dwarves. And at first glance, I would never have ever guessed that. So, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it's more like a high school band. Even by the time you get to college, you've sort of outgrown it already. I think I had outgrown it by about 15, 16, so I'm running on fumes at this point.
Right. Fair enough. So how does your solo music differ from the Dwarves? Because you do that. Are you on fumes?
It's pretty radically different. I'm making the solo album now. The pandemic year really gave me the chance to get off the road and make the solo record. And the solo record is fucking amazing. I'm so glad. Because Dwarves music is very hard and fast. And for a lot of people, their internal thing is just not programmed to that. When I talk to people my age and then I play them my music, you can just tell that they're trying to say something nice about it, but they just can't,
They're searching.
Yeah, it's just a little too fast, a little too profane, and it just it's sort of for 14-year-old boys a lot. But, that's the thing. If you can access that part of yourself, every human has that 14-year-old boy part of themselves.
Yeah, I still do.
Then the music makes sense and it's fun. I think most older folks have kind of lost that. So Yeah, with this record, it's the kind of record that crosses boundaries like that. I mean, the lyrics are still nasty. And so I think Dwarves fans are still really going to dig it. People won't give up on me, because a lot of times people kind of get soft intentionally,
Uh-huh.
and that kind of isn't what happened here. Like, I made a cool record, but the music is all sort of Americana music, which I've been listening to my whole life, so it was great to work in country and acoustic stuff and just everything that I listen to and actually like, and be able to kind of communicate with that instead of having it be all hardcore and you got to beat your head against the wall.
Do you have comedy stuff in it?
Yeah, I mean, I would call it comedy, and I would say the Dwarves was comedy too. It's just,
True.
again, a lot of times it seemed really serious and it was fast and it was hard, and so you could kind of you wouldn't notice the lyrics, and then it was like, well, whatever. But if you actually listened to it, it was always kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I like to think of it as humor, comedy, whatever, in the sense of like Frank Zappa, that it's music and it's humor and it's all
Yeah.
these things together.
Yeah. Cool. Far out. And so also it's like the trifecta, I feel like. You're a writer too. Yeah?
That is true. Yes, I've
Would you
written.
call yourself a writer, or would you let someone else call you a writer?
I would call myself a writer. So there's a lot of gutless designations around writer, right? Like there's journalist, I'm a journalist, or I'm a critic, and I always
Right.
laugh at these people. It's like, no, what you are is a writer. You're just not a writer that anyone wants to read. So you have to call yourself a journalist or a critic or something. Just
Mhm.
admit that you're a writer. You write words down and you want people to read them. That's what
Right.
a writer is. So yeah, I mean, I've written a couple novels, and I have a third one done now that's going to be coming out, called Highland Falls, just sort of about, it centers around a young woman who lives in a suburban town. And it's a follow up to my last book, which was called Nina. That was about that young woman from a suburban town. And it kind of harkens back to the nasty women of my youth.
So I have a question then. How do you get in like the mindset to write a young female character lead?
Well, because it's me, um, I got this comment with the last one. People were like, "You don't know anything about teenage women, what they're like." It didn't seem anything like that. It's like, well, no, that's not really what I'm writing. I'm really writing myself, and then I'm just placing it in the frame of a teenage woman, which I thought was a funny thing to do. You can look at it different ways. Some people would say, well, you're not really showing much perception to this group.
I think that's
I
smarter.
look at it. Yeah. I always like a strong female character that's funny, and I figured this was that, so it was a strong female character that was funny and young and sort of had all the attraction gear that men want, but just is completely amoral, So I thought that would be a funny kind of character, and I think it's I enjoy writing her.
Yeah.
I don't spend much time thinking about identity issues, like, do I have the right to say this, or do I have the right to write this? I mean, actors got to act and writers got to write.
Right, whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always been my way.
Yeah. Well, that's, you have to just be yourself. And if someone doesn't like it, then they can go somewhere else.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they can die if they don't
what?
like it. If they don't like it, they can die. I'm fine with that.
Fair enough. All right.
Thin the herd.
Yeah, it needs to happen somehow. So lead it.
That's right. That's right.
All right, changing gears now. What kind of like wellness related tips could you have for young rock and roll musicians who may want a sustainable career in music?
Quit now. Quit now. Don't even bother. It ain't gonna work.
That's it. Next
Retire.
question.
Yeah. It's a pretty impossible business. And without having live to do, I mean, I don't know what young people are doing now. I honestly don't. it must be so difficult, because it was always a business that was built on a very unfair business model of fucking over labor.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people don't look at musicians as part of labor, which always upset me, you know. It's always like, it's easy for us to see how a coal miner is being exploited, or how someone who works at Walmart is being exploited, and we should do something about that. And yet, when we look at musicians, we suddenly start imagining them all in a limousine with Mick and Keith snorting coke, you know. And it's just like, we're just a fucked over labor group, just like many other fucked over labor groups. And you know, so it's a hard gig to get into. I think if you're going to do it, you have to do it with the right mindset of, I'm just going to do this and assume it's going to fail, and assume it's not going to work, and assume there's going to be all these problems. And then if you still want to do it, then you know that that's what you were made to do, you know?
Yeah. Did you think like that, you know, back when you were starting, or at any point, or did you realize that as you went?
I think I realized it pretty early. I mean, I grew up in, you know, the suburbs, not as a very rich person, but as a solidly middle class person from the nice suburb. And I always kind of rejected the trappings of that. But boy, that day that you leave and you're not there anymore, and you don't have all those cute girls and smart people and nice houses, you have to make an internal change of like, oh, wow, you know, that's gone now. And most people can't do that. You know, they can toy around with it for a month or two, a year or two, and then they just admit, well, I better go back and do something that's going to be a little safer and make my life a little easier. And I don't blame them, you know. But for me, I knew I was committed to it. What the records meant was so important to me, and what I was able to do by going out and playing was so important to me, that I knew that having a suburban life was not important to me, you know. And so I think in a sense, you're smart if you sort of take that vow of poverty, you know. Now other people look at it like, no, you know, you got to fight and be a rock star, and you need a hit song and a Grammy and a manager, and you better fight, you know. And I can see that mentality. For people who did that, I respect that as far as it goes.
Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, I mean, there's different levels, I guess.
You know, it's just very, it comes down to what gives you personal satisfaction, I suppose. Mm-hmm. What gives me satisfaction is listening to a great record that I put work into, you know, or having an audience really respond to me. I think for other people, they need that little pat on the head. They need a house or a limousine or a manager or a people to tell them how special they are and how good they are and how much they've succeeded and how higher than everyone else they are, you know. And God bless them, you know, they need that, but I don't need it.
It's the definition of success, whether it's like money and a house and a car, or, you know, knowing that like you did a fucking awesome job and like you've made people happy. So not everyone finds the second one successful per se.
Yeah. And, you know, I think part of that is because I came from a fairly nice suburban home. So I had seen enough of that wasn't what I was striving for. I think, you know, if you grow up, I've known a lot of people in rock and roll where it's like they grew up in a real hard scrabble way. You know, they were shooting up dope with their mom's fifth boyfriend and whatever the deal was. Mm-hmm. And so for them, it was very much like, right, you know, we need a hit record, we need to get rich, and we need to get out of here, and we need to do, you know, if you're Eminem, you know, it's like, yeah, I live in a trailer park with my mom and I need to go, you know. It's like, I respect that, you know, that's great. You know? For me, it was always more about the art itself. And that's what is so funny, is that I'm really not known much for my art, but known a lot more for antics, you know, whether it was nudity or getting in a fight or having a problem with somebody or spray painting something at the offices of the company or whatever it was. Like, those are the things that we're known for. We're not really known for our music, you know. And that again is kind of funny because, you know, everything in the music business is image. So you get all these people with no interest in music who hire people to do everything for them. But when in their image, they come off like they really care about it, you know what I mean?
Right.
But as soon as they're done, because I've seen guys like this in the studio. I've worked with big producers, helping them do lyrics behind the scenes and things like that. And you'll see, you know, these bands come in and it's like, you know, or just individual artists. I mean, they just don't give a fuck at all. They don't know anything. They can't do anything. It's just all management, all fucking, you know, and you're floored. You're like, really? This, like, it's that emperor has no clothes thing of the music industry where you really get in there and you see these people that just suck. And then, you know, you'll also see very talented people who reach great heights, you know, a Bruno Mars or a Beyonce or Alicia Keys or whoever. These people who are very talented and the industry has embraced them and there's all this love for them. I never encountered any of that, you know. So, you know, it was more like you're going to do it yourself, take no prisoners, and fuck it.
Yeah.
That was how we did it.
So like if you faced any kind of like rejection or obstacles, like were there certain things that you kind of like
constant rejection, solipsism, you know. I mean, there's different ways to do it, I guess. I mean, the way I did it was really ignoring it. It was just like, okay. And it was hard to do that. Like when I was in my 20s, and then I had to look at guys from my own record label, Kurt Cobain, and should get really rich. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, what about me? You know, or, you know, you go to Epitaph and you see guys like Rancid and The Offspring, these very big acts. And it's like, but I know these guys. I'm friends with these guys. What about me? Where's all my stuff, you know? And I think at a certain point, I just made peace with it. And it was just like, wow, you know, I'm still doing this. I obviously enjoy it. The things I get out of it are like friends and satisfaction and doing something interesting. And so I'm just going to stick with that and not trip on the rest of it. And doing that really was a great help. I think if you want a wellness tip, it would be, you know, be at peace with yourself about what you've done. Yeah. But, you know, that's easier said than done. I mean, it took me quite a while to get there. But when I got there, it was like, wow, this is great, you know? I still love rock and roll. I still love making a cool record. I still love seeing my friends. Yeah. You know, I think for other people, for the guys that I knew that got rich in the 90s and the 2000s, being all hungry, you know, again, God bless them. They were hungry and they got their thing. Woo-wee, you know. But what tended to happen was 2 or 3 years later, when they lost that record deal or they lost that management or whatever, they were so crestfallen and destroyed by it. A lot of them have never recovered. Mm-hmm. They're still just drunks or, you know, sneaking hits of coke all the time. And they're just like they're not content with it, you know? So, you know, I think if you're going to be an artist, you should make great art and try and be content with the art that you make. But it's easier said than done, you know? I think the other kind of straight wellness things are like get enough sleep. A lot of people don't get enough sleep.
How much sleep do you need?
Work too hard. 8 hours, 7 hours, always.
Okay.
You know, I'm up all night. I'm an insomniac, so I sometimes I get it in the middle of the day or whatever. But you got to get that sleep.
So do you have a consistent sleep schedule? I mean, even if it's off hours. I mean, like you.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of like 4 to noon, that kind of thing. But yeah, you know, I get enough sleep. If you're on the road, sleep in the van, you know, make yourself do it. A lot of people are tuned to be very high strung and work very hard, and they can always get in a little more work, which again is a good trait in a sense, but you know, rock and roll destroys you in so many ways. The traveling is very hard on you and your body gets put in these strange positions. So just doing basic things like stretching and strengthening yourself is smart, and getting enough sleep, eating decent food. And the biggest one is just don't drink, you know. I mean, I don't drink. I think it's one of the reasons I survived, you know, because the booze is free out there, right? Yeah. That's how they bribe us into addiction and paying us nothing, right? So, okay, we won't give you any money, but here's a $10
Yeah.
12 pack of shitty beer for you.
Yeah.
And it's like if you go for the beer every day, then you're gonna wind up pretty fucked up.
Did you
So
ever have any struggles with alcohol or anything?
it never reacted with me that well. And at one point, I was in New Orleans on my birthday, and it just never stops there.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, I think I wandered. I wandered into somebody's house, like Robert Downey Jr. or something, and they had to. I puked all over. That was another thing. Like what you walk into somebody's house down south and puke all over, you can get shot real easy. So like after that event, it was just very like, oh shit, like, and I didn't feel good for a month. And
Really?
so I just stopped drinking. I never did it again. I mean, it didn't bother me. I think for people who like drinking, that would be hard. They need meetings and all kinds of things. Whatever does it for you, I think you should do.
Yeah.
If you play music, you should really try not to drink for the simple reason that it's what they bribe us with, and that's kind of disgusting, if that's what you want to go
So
for.
don't
Then
give them the satisfaction of having the alcohol be enough to be paid.
right, right. It's like, why don't you fucking pay us
Yeah.
instead of giving us booze, and why don't you try and help us? Once you put a decent plate of food in front of me instead of a microwave pizza and a fucking shitty beer.
Yeah.
But good luck with that.
What kind of like does your diet change drastically when you've been on tour versus like when you're at home? I mean, I know like there's road food, but do you try and incorporate healthier stuff or do you like take snacks with you or anything?
Yeah, I mean, on the road, you're good with that stuff like almonds and raisins and stuff that's good for you, but not, it doesn't need to be prepared.
Yeah.
On the road, stuff like almond butter and peanut butter is really good, and whatever has some nutrition and that you don't have to prepare.
Yeah.
Everything that's prepared out there sucks. There's a
Yeah.
million bad burgers and a million prepackaged iced teas and all that bullshit. And it's
Will
all
you ever go like if you're when you're touring, will you go to grocery stores to pick up stuff or just like
we picked up on that a lot later just because you're in the habit. You go to McDonald's at 3 a.m. because you need fries or whatever. But yeah, the supermarket is a smart one on the road. I would advise that one. A lot of them, like Whole Foods and stuff, will then go ahead and do the food, which also sucks. So it's always that same shit. It's like you're pretty much better off buying it yourself and making it yourself. I mean, it's the same thing you think when you're on an airplane. Like,
Mhm.
why are you giving me a shitty piece of rubber chicken when you could give me a peanut butter sandwich that tastes better, costs everybody half as much, and it actually has some nutrition in it? It's like, because we need that illusion that we're getting a meal. That's what the whole burger, fries, and a Coke is
Yeah.
about. And every part of that is bad, but
Yeah. It's all chemicals.
yeah, and a lot of bread. Restaurants are big on pushing bread and starch. So if it's an Asian restaurant, they're feeding you rice. If it's American, then they're feeding you potatoes and grain. And
Yeah.
it's all just crap. I mean, when I go into a town, I just ask somebody, where do the rich people eat? And then I go there.
Is there like a standout restaurant or anything that you've eaten at while you've been on the road or just on vacation or anywhere that you're like, that was fucking good?
Oh man, I mean, in Denver, we used to go to a place called Matam Fez. That was great. It was a Moroccan place where you get the full-on Moroccan meal, which is great, but you also get like belly dancers and like, they're pouring tea from their, on their heads and whatever it is, a lot of fun. Now when you're out there, you just look at menus and try to find, does this place have some protein? Is this place not all slathered in shit? And then you just try and eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are kind of the big ones. The shit you'd expect. Eating, sleeping, and trying not to drink.
Right. Do you do any like meditation or anything like that?
I should. My cousin showed me how to meditate. He's actually an expert in it. He studied with the Maharishi and these kinds of things, and he has a sort of ashram thing out there in Colorado, and he showed me how to meditate. I really enjoy it. You know, I think it's a great thing. I mean, I think for most people, the hard part is concentrating on anything that's not supposed to be productive. You know, I'll talk to people all the time that will say, "Oh, meditation, I can't do that." You know, and you can tell why. You know, it's because in this culture we're called to consume constantly.
Yeah.
Always consume. And meditation goes against that, because you're just taking some time to just be a human being. And if you actually get across to the other side and do it, if you can work through that reaction that's telling you, no, you should be consuming something, you should be doing something,
Mm-hmm.
you're falling behind, you know, that's when you need it the most.
That's
because
it.
you're not falling behind. You
Yeah.
just need to sit there and exist for a minute. And most of us can't do it because then the sounds in our brains are screaming at us and we can't handle what we hear, you know.
Yeah.
So we go back to like, okay, I need the television, I need the computer, I need someone talking to me. People need this. And yeah, so I mean, meditation is one of the biggest ones, because it allows you to be content just existing, and it allows you to shut out things that are extraneous.
Yeah.
It's not like other thoughts don't occur to you, but you put them in the perspective they should be. Like, that isn't important, I'm not going to think about that right now. And that
So
includes the biggest things in your life, you know.
yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is they think, well, I just keep thinking about things, so like the meditation doesn't work. But that's literally the act of meditating, is like,
Right.
here's the thought, and now I'm not going to, you know, give it energy and then let it go away. Like that is
right.
is literally meditation.
Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup, right? Isn't that what John Lennon said?
I don't know. Is it?
Right? What was the song? What's it called? Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They said the widely across the universe.
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
Song? Yeah. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox, right? So we can learn from the Beatles always, right?
Yeah, they've got something in their catalog. Do you ever take breaks from social media or screens or anything like that?
I'm kind of on a permanent
break
break.
With like your phone on your face.
I try and give people the respect of not looking at my phone while I'm talking to other people. I try and do that when, you know, I mean, if I'm very close with somebody and they know that don't mean any harm by it, I'll do it. But I think that's an important thing that we've lost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think taking a break from the screen would be nice. It's kind of hard to do sometimes because, you know, your writing's in there and your music's in there and everything's in there. But, you know, most importantly, I mean, I'm kind of disengaged from it permanently. Like, if you look at the Dwarves social media sites, you know, there's like 77,000 people on Facebook looking at the Dwarves, and I'm following like 2 that I had to follow in order to do something at one point. I didn't know how to unfollow them, you know. Or if you look at us on Twitter, you know, or Instagram or whatever, that, you know, I have 20,000 followers and I'm following 4 people. Yeah. And I don't care about what those 4 people do. I don't know why I'm following. So, I mean, you know, don't look at it. Mm-hmm. Don't look at it. Don't take part in it. I use it as an advertisement for my group. It's one of the only ways to advertise. So I advertise my group on it. And that's how I interface with it on a daily basis. I push something out there at people and I don't care.
That's
and I don't look at it. You know,
that's the best way to do it for like anything. I do that with my stuff, my posts. I make a video and I'm like, I don't fucking care. It's out there. It was fun to make it. So if someone likes it, cool.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, for me, it's still about that music. It's still about those books. It's still about that artwork. You know, it's still about what you've actually done, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Social media is a way of advertising what you've done. But if you haven't done anything, then I'm not very interested in it, you know?
That's very simplistically put.
And even if you have done something, I'm still not interested in it.
Hence having two people that you're following and you wish you could unfollow them, but you don't know how.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Fuck those people.
You're
I'm not
right.
interested in it.
Um, uh, is there anything that you've brought into your life that's actually like improved your creativity or your music? Like any wellness related stuff, or maybe non-wellness related stuff?
Oh man. Only if I brought in
Or like, let's say like, you were meditating for like a period of time and you're like, whoa, I started having really good ideas, like anything like that.
yeah, for me it's more about not doing things, you
Okay.
know. Don't smoke too much weed or you can't think, don't be a glutton or you feel sick, don't be, and I still do all those things regularly, so I'm reminded, oh yeah, right, don't do that. um yeah, so it's more about staying the course for me. It's more about not letting myself get taken away by the extraneous stuff,
Okay. That's
um
good advice.
yeah, focus in, as Ariana Grande said, focus. You gotta focus.
So you go from John Lennon to Ariana Grande.
Yes, that's right. I prefer John Lennon's music, but I'd rather fuck Ariana Grande. So they both have their uses,
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Um, do you have any other like words of wisdoms that you would impart on anybody willing to listen to you?
Yes, of course. Democracy. It's important. Have we figured that one out now? My fellow Americans have been drifting on the democracy thing for the last several decades. So I'm hoping that we can get that back together and figure out that democracy is an important thing that leads to a lot of healthy outcomes in a lot of other ways.
But has it ever really been successfully in place?
Well, no, but you know the saying about democracy, right? It's the worst form of government except for all the other ones, right? Just
That's
like,
everything, the lesser of evils.
yeah, right. Just like capitalism, people criticize it. I criticize all kinds of aspects of it, but it is the worst economic system except for the other ones. So you have to figure out how to marshal it. And when you can combine capitalism and democracy successfully, then you've got America and good things are happening. We've failed now. Our democracy's down here, our capitalism's up here, and we're failing. And so it's important to take part in the overall polity and not just yourself. I think sometimes the smarter an American is, the more self-obsessed they are. So we need to step out of that and think about the actual group. And we've failed to do that. And I know that you're broadcasting from down south, and South is a wonderful place. There's great people there, and there's great ecology there. It's important, and it makes me sad to see the South represented by these assholes, these hucksters, these bullshit artists, these liars. They lie about the chemicals that they're pumping out there in West Virginia. They lie about the mountaintops they're cutting off in Tennessee. They're lying about it, and people down south deserve better.
Well,
So
that's like, I mean, where I am, the water is like fucking chock full of chemicals. From I don't remember the company, but yeah, like the Cape Fear, I guess. The river is so gnarly. It's awful. And
yeah, and they, and the Southern politicians and a lot of other politicians, conservative politicians in general, have decided that, you know, it's fun to attack the liberals. But, you know, it's like, hey, man, it's your constituents too that are breathing mercury and taking in, you know, things to ruin their endocrine system and all this stuff. I mean, it's really disgusting what Southern politicians have done to Southern people. Yeah. And I hope that starts to turn around. You know, I hope that people down south really understand how valuable they are, how important they are to this country, and that
even like, I mean, Midwest, you know, you look at Michigan and Flint and all their water issues and stuff.
That's right. Yeah, I come from Illinois. What happened in Flint was a horrible thing, and it happened with a Democrat in the White House. So, you know, it's this stuff crosses party lines. You know, we're killing people with poisons, and corporate America is profiting off it, and it needs to stop. And our Southern politicians have to stop being so spineless, and our Midwestern politicians, our Western, our Eastern, all of them, you know, they need to stop being so spineless to these companies that are poisoning us.
But I mean, that's politics. Like, they're all scumbags. I mean, I don't know, maybe like on the very supreme local level, there could be someone, you know, like with like good intentions, but when they go up one or two notches, they're all, so like, it's politics. It's all shit.
Yeah. And the problem with thinking that way, I mean, it's a reasonable way to think, especially for somebody your age. You know, for somebody my age, when I was born, there was actually somebody in the White House who did something. It seems like an eternity ago, but, you know, when I was born, we had a president who gave us, you know, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, Medicare, a lot of really important things. So the government can do things for you. Yes, all politicians suck dick. Guess what? All human beings suck dick.
True.
That's not the point. The point is they can do something for you and improve the world. It's just been so long since they did that a lot of people your age and younger believe that it's just impossible for them to do anything. And that's, you know, that's why we've reached a very cynical age, you know, and we need to, you know, so we do need some improvement there. It's true. You know, as a human being, I think you need to concentrate on yourself, but you need to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time and understand that you're part of a larger thing.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's it too. Everyone wants to, well, if you want to see change, you know, just be nice to the people around you.
Yeah. I've never tried that, but I'm sure it's great.
It works. It does. It works.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey,
well, I hope that your listeners, have gleaned something from talking to me. I don't know. I'm not the most nutritious guy in the world, but I like to eat good.
You know the value of sleep. I mean, that's something. Sleep. And you know your limits with, you know, alcohol or weed. So that's something.
Yes.
So I'd say, yeah, you've gotten some points in this. You've done well.
Well, I'm proud. Proud to have represented wellness.
Yes. What is your favorite quote?
Oh my Lord. Favorite quote. There's so many great ones. I liked "Dude, where's my car?" I thought that was an interesting quote. I guess now that would be vintage, right? That would be like a really you know, sort of an important cultural touchstone from decades ago.
Right.
When
did that come out? In the 90s?
I can't
early
remember.
2000s?
Maybe it was the early 2000s.
Probably.
Yeah, but I remember being dragged to the theater and actually really being happy that they had forced me to go and watch "Dude, Where's My Car?" I went kicking and screaming, you know, but
Have you ever walked out of a movie that it was so bad you just were like, fuck it, and left?
Oh yeah, I definitely, and I've converted a lot of my friends. As I explained to them, you know, part of what you're paying for is the right to walk out.
Okay.
Right. I'm not going to sit there and watch something that sucks. So I paid for the right to walk out, and
Yeah.
I walk out if I have to, you know. I was thinking about this quote I heard an Elvis Costello song the other day, and I thought it was so appropriate because I've been walking around my whole life. I take a walk every night, so that's another wellness thing, right? And I've walked around San Francisco a lot and always kind of been amazed at how deserted it is. You know, it's like they roll up the sidewalks here. Well, now with the pandemic, it's more deserted than ever. And Elvis Costello has this great line. He says, I hear you saying that the city's all right when you only read about it in books. Spend all your money getting so convinced that you never even bother to look. You know, it's like it's all out there, you know.
Yeah.
So you
So
can look at it or not.
even before the pandemic, though, San Francisco, they wasn't much of a night place.
No,
Really?
no. Once you've lived in New York City, it's kind of hard to see any other place as you know, a night place. I like getting Korean food at 3 a.m. That's my deal. I just can't, you know. If California in general is a kind of an industry town. It's a little not such a late night place. But you got to get on the right party train, and then, you know, there's people up all night if you could find it. You know?
Right. If you look, it's there.
That's right.
Okay.
You just got to bother to look.
Do you have anything cool coming out in 2021?
There's going to be a lot of good stuff in 2021. Absolutely. There's going to be my book, Highland Falls, which is hilarious, fun. And
Are there pictures in it?
There's a great picture on the cover. You know, there's a great Italian artist, Zoe Lachey, who I had do cover thing for me. Y'all should check her out. Zoe, and it's spelled like Lachei or something like that. But she did a nice illustration for me for my Nina character, and yeah, that's it.
So just your book in 2021.
The book and oh no, my solo album. Are you kidding? Yeah, that's what I've really been working on, and it's a real breakthrough. It's amazing, kind of Americana record, funny lyrics. I think people are going to love it. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming in 2021. TheDwarves.com. Keep your eyes peeled, kids. You're going to see it. It's wild times.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.
Thanks
you for talking to me. No problem.
Thank you for being here. I will talk to you later.
Got it.